Welcome to another Kevin's English School's English learning video. Today we have a documentary on the English language. A venerable tapestry woven from the threads of countless tongues and epochs serves today not only as a communicative bridge but as a historical narrative embroidered with the complexities of human endeavour. As waves crash onto the British Isles, so too have invasions, migrations and innovations shaped the language spoken by millions worldwide. Witnessing its evolution is akin to watching the growth of a living organism, adapting and thriving through centuries. This essay embarks on an expedition to trace the serpentine path of English, from the whisperings in ancient forests to the digital dialogues of the modern world, revealing how it has become the lingua franca of our global age. Long before the English language emerged, the islands of Britain echoed to the sounds of ancient Celtic tongues, spoken by tribes adorned with complex tattoos and harboring profound spiritual beliefs. These early languages set the foundational linguistic landscape into which English would later grow. The arrival of the Romans in 43 AD introduced Latin to this blend, leaving behind a trove of words concerning governance, architecture, and military, which linger in English today. The fall of the Roman Empire ushered in a period of upheaval, shaping not just territories, but the spoken words of its inhabitants. This era prepared the stage for the advent of Anglo-Saxons, whose languages would form the backbone of what we now recognize as Old English. With the Anglo-Saxon settlements from the 5th century onward, Old English began to take a more definite shape. This early form of English was a patchwork of dialects from various Germanic tribes such as the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes. Court poets known as Scops sang of heroes and monsters, weaving a linguistic tapestry rich in metaphor and narrative. Such tales were often recounted in communal halls, resonating the values of bravery and fate which are integral to Old English literature, including the epic poem Beowulf. The arrival of Christianity in the 7th century introduced new concepts and vocabulary from Latin and Greek. The monastic scribes in their scriptoria laboriously copied texts, blending religious terminology with the vernacular, thereby enriching the language and its literary corpus. In the late 8th century, seafaring Norse warriors, commonly known as Vikings, began raids on the British Isles, eventually settling and establishing the Danelaw region. Their Old Norse language left an indelible mark on English, contributing hundreds of everyday words including sky, skirt, and window. This period of Norse influence not only altered the vocabulary but also simplified the grammar of Old English, making it less inflected and more approachable to speakers of Norse and vice versa. This melding of languages under Viking influence is a prime example of how conquest and daily interaction can dramatically transform a language. The linguistic convergence during the Danelaw period laid foundational elements that would facilitate the later evolution towards Middle English. The seismic shift in the English language occurred in 1066 with the Norman Conquest. When William the Conqueror from Normandy took the English throne, French became the language of the court, the clergy, and the law. English was relegated to the lower classes, yet it simmered underneath, absorbing and transforming. This period marked the beginning of Middle English, characterized by significant French vocabulary infusion. Words related to governance, justice, and luxury entered English, illustrating the societal hierarchy and the influence of French culture. This linguistic stratification meant that for several centuries, English was essentially a bilingual language with two distinctly different registers, which eventually merged as English regained prominence in England from the 14th century onwards. Geoffrey Chaucer, often considered the father of English literature, stood at the crossroads of English's evolution during the 14th century. His most famous work, the Canterbury Tales, is a cornerstone of English literature and was written in Middle English. Chaucer's use of the vernacular, rather than French or Latin, legitimized English as a language of courtly and poetic expression. His works incorporated a rich mix of linguistic influences, reflecting the dynamic and pluralistic nature of English during this period. His storytelling also mirrored the vast societal tapestry of England, from the nobility to the peasantry, thereby encapsulating a holistic image of medieval English society in his linguistic and thematic choices. The Renaissance was a period of great intellectual and artistic flowering in Europe, and England was no exception. The revival of interest in classical learning brought a flood of new or rediscovered ideas into the intellectual circles of England, profoundly influencing the English language. This period saw the introduction of thousands of words into English, many borrowed from Latin and Greek, enhancing the language's ability to express new concepts in science, philosophy, and the arts. Figures like Shakespeare contributed significantly to this expansion, coining hundreds of words and phrases that are still in use today. The Renaissance propelled English not only toward greater expressiveness and versatility, but also set the stage for its spread across the globe during the subsequent periods of exploration and colonization. William Shakespeare, the eminent playwright of the English Renaissance, used his unparalleled mastery of the language to enrich English literature with words and expressions that have permeated daily language. His inventive language, including puns, metaphors, and similes, stretched the capabilities of English and demonstrated its expressive potential. Shakespeare's works varied from profound tragedies to light-hearted comedies, and his influence on the English language was profound. He is credited with contributing over 1,700 words to English, crafting them to suit the rhythm, rhyme, and context of his plays. His legacy is not just in the stories he told, but in how he told them, fundamentally shaping the way English was written and appreciated. The translation of the Bible into English, most famously the King James Version completed in 1611, marked a significant milestone in the history of the English language. This version of the Bible was not the first in English, but it became the most influential, widely read throughout the English-speaking world, and deeply affecting English literature and language. The translators of the King James Bible chose a style that was majestic, yet understandable to the common people, a balance that helped to standardize English spelling and grammar. Its phrases and idioms have entered common usage and remain potent, demonstrating the deep interconnection between language, faith, and daily life. This translation played a critical role in shaping modern English by standardizing linguistic structures and introducing a treasure trove of idiomatic expressions. The Scientific Revolution, a period marked by major advances in fields such as astronomy, physics, biology, and chemistry, profoundly influenced the English language. As new concepts and inventions required new vocabulary, English expanded to accommodate these innovations. This era saw the introduction of words like gravity, species, and machine. New scientific societies such as the Royal Society in England established English as the language of their proceedings, contrasting with the Latin previously used for scholarly discourse. This shift not only democratized access to scientific knowledge, but also cemented English's role in the academic and scientific communities. The adaptability of English to incorporate and create new terminology helped it become a pivotal tool in disseminating new scientific ideas across Europe and later the world. As the British Empire expanded its reach across the globe, English travelled with colonists, traders, and administrators. This colonial chapter saw English absorbing words from dozens of languages, including Hindi, Arabic, and Nahuatl, reflecting the diverse ecosystems and cultures of the colonies. Words like jungle, bungalow, and sofa entered English during this period, enriching its vocabulary and making it a more versatile tool for global dialogue. The imposition of English in various regions also led to the creation of numerous pidgins and creoles, demonstrating the language's ability to adapt and evolve in multicultural settings. This phase not only increased the geographical spread of English but also its depth, as it became a repository for diverse cultural experiences. The Industrial Revolution, a transformative era that began in the late 18th century, brought profound changes not only to society and economics, but also to the English language. New technologies and the urbanization of society required new words and phrases to describe the rapidly changing world. Terms like engine, railroad, and factory became commonplace, and the language of trade and technology reflected English's growing importance as a global lingua franca. The period also saw the standardization of English through the first dictionaries and grammar books, an essential step in its teaching and learning worldwide. The technological advances of the Industrial Revolution thus had a dual impact on English, expanding its vocabulary and standardizing its form. The Romantic period in the late 18th and early 19th centuries was marked by a focus on emotion, nature, and individualism in the arts and literature. Poets like Wordsworth, Byron, and Keats explored the depths of human emotion and the complexities of the natural world, enriching English with a new depth of expression and a plethora of descriptive vocabulary. This era's emphasis on creativity and personal expression allowed for a flourishing of literary styles and the exploration of innovative themes and structures in English literature. The Romantic poets' love for the sublime and their quest for deep, introspective language influenced English by expanding ways to articulate human experiences and emotions. Their contributions helped to shape modern literary English, emphasizing the power of the individual's voice and the expression of personal vision. By the 19th century, the British Empire had expanded its influence to every continent, and with this imperial reach came the widespread adoption of English as a global language. English was used for administration, education, and law in numerous countries around the world. This global spread brought about a new level of linguistic exchange, with English at the center, facilitating communication across diverse cultures. The impact of English as the language of the empire laid the groundwork for its current status as a global lingua franca, used in international business, diplomacy, and science. The empire's legacy in spreading English has had lasting effects on the language's structure, vocabulary, and its role in the world stage today. The early 20th century, marked by the two world wars, saw English adapting to the needs of global conflict and international diplomacy. The wars brought soldiers, sailors, and airmen from different parts of the English-speaking world together, leading to an interchange of dialects and phrases. This period also saw the rise of American influence on the language as the United States emerged as a global power. American English, with its distinct vocabulary and pronunciation, began to have a significant impact on the language as a whole, particularly through the proliferation of American cinema and music. The World Wars thus not only influenced political landscapes, but also linguistic ones, as English continued to adapt and evolve in response to global events. Following World War II, the United States' cultural and economic dominance solidified English's status as the global lingua franca. American English became increasingly influential through Hollywood movies, music, and later television. Words from American English, such as cool, teenager, and okay, became part of global English, reflecting America's cultural export. The post-war period also witnessed the rise of international organizations like the United Nations, where English was established as one of the official languages. This not only reflected English's wide reach, but also its role in fostering global communication in diplomacy and international relations. The influence of American English and the geopolitical dynamics of the post-war world played key roles in shaping contemporary global English. The advent of the electronic age and the Internet has revolutionized how English is used and spread across the globe. Today, English is the predominant language of the Internet, which has facilitated its access and learning to non-native speakers everywhere. This digital dissemination of English has led to the emergence of global English, a form of English that transcends local idioms and expressions to facilitate universal understanding. The Internet has also given rise to new forms of English, including Internet slang and shorthand, reflecting the dynamic nature of the language in digital communication. The electronic age has thus not only expanded the reach of English, but also its very nature, adapting it for digital communication in a globally connected world. In the contemporary world, English is not just a global lingua franca, but also a language that encompasses a multitude of global identities and cultures. It acts as a canvas reflecting the linguistic fingerprints of countless speakers who adapt it to fit their cultural contexts. This diversity is seen in the rise of new Englishes, varieties of English that have developed in different regions around the world, such as Indian English, Singaporean English, and Nigerian English. These variants incorporate local vocabulary, idioms, and syntax, making English a truly global language that is continuously evolving. The story of modern English is thus one of diversity, reflecting the narratives of its global speakers and their cultural richness. The digital revolution has not only spread English worldwide, but also transformed it through technological innovations like machine translation, speech recognition, and language learning apps. These tools have made English more accessible and adaptable, shaping how it is learned and used globally. Technological advancements in communication, such as social media, have created new genres and styles of writing in English, from tweets to text messages, which are shorter and often more informal. This reflects the changing ways in which people communicate and how English adapts to these new forms of interaction. The digital revolution is thus not just spreading English, but also transforming it, making it a dynamic entity that continues to evolve with technological progress. As we look to the future, English's role as a global lingua franca seems secure, but how it will evolve is open to speculation. The growing influence of non-native speakers and the rise of artificial intelligence in language use might shape English in unpredictable ways. Future trends might include an increasing simplification of grammar and syntax to accommodate non-native speakers, or the rise of a more standardized form of global English. Additionally, the impact of technology and artificial intelligence on language learning and translation could democratize or even homogenize the way English is used across different regions. Speculating on the future of English involves understanding its adaptive nature and its role in a rapidly changing world. The journey of English from the ancient whispers of Celtic tribes to the digital conversations of the global village illustrates its incredible adaptability and enduring appeal. It has grown from a small island language to a global tongue, influenced by and influencing the numerous cultures it touches. English's ability to absorb influences, adapt to new realities, and spread through technology and empire has made it a linguistic bridge across cultural and geographical divides. As it continues to evolve, it carries with it the stories, identities, and histories of its speakers, remaining not just a means of communication, but a living, dynamic repository of human experience. The tale of English is far from complete, and its future chapters will continue to be written by the people who speak it, learn it, and transform it across the world.